Wow! Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of me collecting shiny pieces of paper, like some kind of magpie. Today, I'll be visiting central Kyoto, and I'll be showing you the best places to collect Pokemon cards, retro games, and all kinds of things within that niche. Most of the stores open from around 11 to 12 in the morning, so I'll be setting off from Osaka nice and early, in time to get there for lunch. Today I'll be taking the Keihan line from Kyobashi Station to Sanjo in Kyoto, as at Sanjo Station is the first book-off we'll be visiting. Now, when I found this book-off on Google Maps, it looked kinda small, and I've been pretty disappointed by some of the smaller book-offs in the past. Recently I found on Book-Off's website that you can actually check what they sell in the store before you go there, which is pretty beneficial so you don't waste time going there for no reason at all. I saw on Book-Off's website that this store is selling trading cards, and since it's only 20 minutes walk from central Kyoto, I thought let's try there first. And by God, I'm glad that I checked it out. This book-off wasn't just selling Pokemon cards, but it was a goddamn goldmine of retro cards. They had 3 showcases of older cards, as well as binders separated into each type of card. Even though my retro card collection is pretty close to complete, I was able to pick up a few cards I needed, such as this Dark Espeon card for 15 bucks. For 15 bucks, I thought,
I will be having this today. Put that in my trinket sack.
At the price of most of the cards in the store though, if you're able to, you're better off checking other places before you commit to purchasing, as some of the cards were a little bit expensive in my opinion. This book-off also sold a lot of K-pop merch, such as K-pop trading cards, with a specific showcase of just BTS trading cards, DVDs, keychains, and CDs. They also had both large and small anime figures, Pokemon plushies, retro games, consoles, and newer games too. And, of course, they had books. The consoles were pretty cheap, such as PS1s for 10 bucks each, and many games being a pretty average price too. They were also selling Boys Love manga for 110 yen, so there's also that. Anyways, now that I've got my cards and I'm finished looking around, I think it's time to grab lunch. As I was crossing Kamogawa, this massive heron came out of nowhere and almost smashed me in the side of the head, and for a moment I felt like I was in a Miyazaki movie. Anyway, with the heron taking my attention to the side of the river, I noticed the cherry blossoms had begun to bloom, so I decided to go and take a look, before heading to Kokoichi for my lunch. Kokoichi is a super fast and cheap curry chain available pretty much in every town and city across the country, and they have a plant-based curry sauce, which makes it and Moss Burger a pretty convenient option if you're a vegan or vegetarian. Now, after speedrunning my lunch, it was time to head to Yellow Submarine. Yellow Submarine is located around 5 minutes away from Kyoto Kawaramachi Station, the most downtown station in Kyoto, and it's on the 4th floor of this building, so it's quite easy to miss, so be careful of that. This Yellow Submarine is probably my favorite of all the Yellow Submarines I've visited so far, and actually my interest in them has grown since I visited the first one in Osaka a few weeks ago. This Yellow Submarine had pretty much everything card related. First, looking at the Pokemon cards, they had multiple showcases of cards, but were lacking a retro card section. However, they had a large amount of art rares, character rares, secret rares, and so on. Then, above the showcases, they had cases with cheaper cards, all sorted by types, auras, Master Ball reverse holos and such. I managed to snag a couple of old cards I was still somehow missing from my collection, which was pretty good. Then, after discovering this one box of art rares and such, I managed to snag a few more cards. The store also had Yu-Gi-Oh!, which seemed incredibly well sorted, One Piece, Magic, and other cards for sale as well. They also were selling board games, and all your card game paraphernalia such as sleeves and binders. Now that I'm done wasting money at Yellow Submarine, it's time to move on to the second book-off of the day. This book-off is located on the 8th floor of the Opa department store building, right next to Kawaramachi Station. This book-off is much larger than the previous book-off, so I'm hoping for some pretty cool stuff. Immediately after walking into the store, I noticed the really expensive cards on display, as well as more K-pop cards. What's with all the K-pop cards today? I didn't even know that was a thing. Anyway, going into the trading card section, I found multiple showcases of Pokemon cards, with some retro cards, 20th anniversary cards, and promo cards. Then also the discounted cards from a variety of eras. Then of course art rares and full arts. And then some type sorted rares and more art rares and gold cards. Certainly a lot of choice. I also found more Yu-Gi-Oh cards and One Piece cards for sale, as well as Jewel Monsters. Then by the cash register, they also had some sorted Jewel Monsters and Pokemon cards. Here I managed to grab a couple of Delta Series cards that I didn't have yet, which is pretty cool. I love Delta Series, it's one of my favorite sets, so that was pretty nice. Around the corner from there they had literally like 100 boxes of common Pokemon cards, as well as boxes of Yu-Gi-Oh and other card games too. And they also had this big crate of these Pokemon things that I don't know what they're for, but they had loads of them, so if you like this thing, then you should go there. However, they also had this crate of Pokemon card cubes, and you know I love a good Pokemon card cube. The cubes were 385 yen, which is like $2.50, so that's pretty good in my opinion. There was quite literally a ton of these cubes, and I picked up like 4 with cards I didn't have to open. I was happy to find art rares from the newest set included in the packs, so for that alone, the price is definitely worth it. Then aside from the actual cards, they also had binders, sleeves, deck boxes, and like other random junk too. So this book off is very much worth visiting when you visit central Kyoto, as it's literally right next to the station, so there's no point not to check it out. They also have this machine where you can search for cards, which I think is pretty helpful if you're looking for something specific. Next, moving on from the trading cards, this store is pretty huge. They of course sell books, games, vinyls, CDs, anime figures, loose and boxed, toy cars, model sets. Then they also sell clothes and anime clothes, I guess. And finally, of course, Pokemon plushies and game figurines. Honestly, the prices weren't great, but they weren't terrible either. I personally just didn't find anything I wanted to buy, or anything I felt was interesting to mention. But the store is pretty big, and I'm sure you could spend like an hour just looking through the figures and that kind of stuff if you're into anime. They definitely had a lot of stuff, so you should check it out. Now it's time to cross the street and head into the Takashimaya department store. Hidden in the depths of the 7th floor is Nintendo Kyoto, or, you know, the Nintendo store in Kyoto. Honestly, I know this store is not like secondhand stuff, but I love Nintendo and I just thought I'd show off the Nintendo store since I was in Kyoto. At the Nintendo store, they have merchandise for every Nintendo game except for F-Zero. So if anyone from Nintendo is watching this, fuck you, give me my F-Zero merch, give me toy cars, I will literally spend all my money on toy cars, give them to me. Anyway, they have Splatoon merchandise and amiibos, and these cats, which I guess are from Splatoon, but they fucking look like Monster Hunter to me, so... Then they have Animal Crossing stuff, like kitchen containers, plushies, and Lego. They also have amiibo, and like pretty much every amiibo that they've ever made, including Card Player 2, which I'm really happy Nintendo reprinted this amiibo and ruined the price. Fuck you, Nintendo. Anyway, they also have a load of Mario stuff, like literally every character from Mario as a plushie, except from Baby Luigi for some reason. I don't know why. Then they also had Zelda plushies and a shirt and tie combo, like Shaw, I guess, and like keychains and stuff like that as well. Then finally they had Pikmin plushies and like these these Pikmin hoodies.
The Ku Klux Klan! Oh no!
Anyway, after spending way too long trying to find Baby Luigi, seriously, I don't know why they didn't have that guy, I noticed that they had some kind of thing happening on the roof, and my dumbass ended up having this fucking awkward picture taken, because I really didn't know how to leave without them forcing me to take this photograph, so you guys have to see it too. Heading down to the 4th floor, we come across Mandarake, everyone's favorite retro video game store. This Mandarake has these cool torii gates inside, and I just love the design choice. Mandarake is always really cool with that. In this store, we have countless figures from like a million different things. I'm not sure whether you're into diagrams of the human body, really strange presumably knockoff Mario Kart plushies or like Austin Powers, but they really have everything. In the game section, they even had what I've been searching for, F-Zero figures for 33,000 yen. So yeah, looks like I'm not gonna spend 200 bucks on like small toy cars. However, they also had Alexander from Elden Ring and Digimon figures too, so that was pretty cool. Is that his name? Alexander? Fuck. The store is kind of split into sections of Western toys, anime figures, and then other figures. So at least it's reasonably easy to find what you're looking for. They also sell books, DVDs, and these like retro Shonen Jump from years ago. However, today's main search criteria is finding retro cards, as always. At the back of the store they have showcases with Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh!, as well as stickers and other collectible things such as that. They also had a huge collection of binders of cards, with 2 binders of Pokemon cards. The binders and the prices of said cards in the binders were nothing to write home about, but not bad either, and covered a wide variety of sets. As usual, I'd say the problem with Mandrake is the kind of lack of overall volume of cards, more than the cards they actually have. I did, however, manage to find one card in the binder, this Promo Bellossom card, so that was pretty cool. As with the binders, the showcases were pretty much the same. The prices weren't particularly extreme, but they weren't great either, and there was nothing eye-catching I wanted to take home. To be honest, I'm still thinking about those F-Zero figures from a few minutes ago. Anyway, it's time to move on to the final store of the day. Less than 1 kilometer down the street in a straight line is Kyoto's Pokemon Center. Again, this is just like the Nintendo store and they don't sell anything secondhand and everything's a little bit pricey, but the Kyoto Pokemon Center is probably one of my favorite Pokemon centers because it's never really that busy, and they also have some exclusive merchandise, which is what I wanted to talk to you about. So, in the store they have these cute statues of Pikachu, Lugia, and Ho-Oh. Then the one piece of exclusive merchandise is the Kyoto Pikachu. I'm not sure if Kyoto Pikachu is the actual name, but pretty much they only sell these traditional Japanese-looking Pikachus in the Kyoto Pokemon Center. At the time of recording, when I went to the store, I could only find one variation, which was different from the blue one I just showed you. But I think they had about 4 or 5 different ones, so maybe they'll be restocking those ones again in future. I'm not sure. But anyway, I think it's a pretty cool piece of merchandise to pick up. The Kyoto store always also seems a lot less crowded than the stores in Osaka, so that's a big plus too. Currently they're also selling merch from the Yokohama Worlds from 2023, so maybe if you go in the near future they might still be selling that stuff too. Then of course they sell the typical stuff like plushies, figures, and cards, and hugging pillows of Cofagrigus and, yeah, Mr. Mime. Maybe it's just me, but I don't even want Mr. Mime in the same room as me. Anyway, after a long 3 hours of shopping, it's time to head back to Osaka. Overall, even if you're in Kyoto for only like 1 or 2 days, I think it's pretty easy to check out these stores, as it only takes a couple hours and they're all right in the middle of the city. So you can easily go there in an evening after spending the day looking around some of the really cool shrines and temples that Kyoto has to offer. I think all the stalls close by 8 PM though, so be careful. But since they're all close to Gion and Kyoto Kawaramachi Station, then I think you shouldn't have a problem getting there. So if anyone has any F-Zero or Monkey Ball figures they want to sell, send me a DM, and please consider checking out my music at Iwagomi Tenshi. The link is in the description, and it's also the music you've been listening to in the background of this video. And yeah, when you're in Kyoto, I hope you can find the Pokemon cards you're looking for. So, peace.